I'm TJ Berge, and you are?
I'm Tania Sheldahl.
Tania Sheldahl, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
All right, and you're the academic advisor here?
I'm the director of academic advising.
Okay.
Yes.
And you went here, right?
I did. I attended Yavapai.
Okay. What made you decide to come here?
Well, what brought me to Prescott Yavapai College was athletics.
Okay.
I was recruited to come play basketball here.
Okay.
So that's how because I'm originally from New Mexico.
New Mexico, okay.
And New Mexico did not have the community college system.
They didn't?
That Arizona did, and so in order for me to play, this was the state to come to.
Was it a good choice to come here? Did they move you on, or is that what you wanted to do, is come here and move on somewhere else?
Mm-hmm. It was an avenue for me, for my education.
Okay.
You know, my family background, it's like we had a certain amount of money for education.
Right.
And how we're going to make those dollars last, or, you know, how do you spread those dollars the best.
Right.
So if I could get my education paid for the first 2 years, things looked a lot better the second 2 years. So this was just an avenue for me to get my education.
So where did you move on to after this?
My plan was to move on to the University of Denver.
Oh, really?
From here. However, you know, chance happens, life happens in between. I met my husband here.
Oh, okay.
And so I didn't want to move that far away,
Right.
so I ended up at NAU.
Oh, okay.
So
was he from here?
he was
originally?
from Prescott, yeah.
Okay.
So this is where we met, and so
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Spending 2 years in Colorado rather than here just seemed like it wasn't going to be the best thing. So
Right. And what made you decide to come back? Was it the husband situation?
well, you know, come back to Prescott.
Come back to Prescott to
Yeah.
work here, yeah.
You know, it's just one of those things that happen. You know,
Right.
sometimes you don't plan things in life. And I finished my education at NAU. We got married. We thought, well, let's just kind of figure life out here for a few months. And
Right.
the few months turned into a few years.
Right.
And then here we are still 20
Right.
years later.
Nice. So how much has it changed since you've been here in Prescott?
Oh, my goodness. Drastically.
Really?
When
See,
I
I don't know
came,
that.
yeah, see, you don't know that at all. This was a very small town.
Really?
And it's interesting because I come from a very small town in New Mexico, Los
Really?
Alamos, New Mexico.
Okay.
So it was a really great fit for me
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't have to, I'm not a big city girl, and so it wasn't as scary to come here.
Right.
So when I came here in 1982, the biggest store we had here was Kmart.
Okay.
And that was it.
Oh, okay.
You know, Kmart and the grocery stores. So if you go from that, and it's where the Kmart is now, that's
Right.
where Kmart was. It's just grown by leaps and bounds.
Really?
Everybody knew you in town. I mean, you couldn't do anything in town without, in
Somebody
athletics,
else. Yeah, right.
the coach knowing where you've been and what you've done for the day.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Sky's kind of that way too.
Yes.
So you liked it here a lot when you came here and all that. Okay.
I did. It was a great experience.
Were you expecting what happened to happen to you from coming here? Or?
You know, not at all. I thought I was going to come here for 2 years and kind of move on from there. But like
Okay.
I said, life happens and you kind
Right. Did
of
you have
roll
any,
with it.
Right. Did you have any bad experiences here in Prescott that you don't?
You know, I don't think that I did. I had some learning experiences
Okay.
through athletics,
Right.
through the residence halls,
Okay.
being away from home as all young adults do.
Right.
When I look back on my life, when I look back and say, oh, those were the best times in my life, I
Yeah.
don't look at high school as being that way,
Right.
but I look at my 2 years at Yavapai
Do
College
you?
that way. I really do.
So this was one of
This was my best experience
Okay.
when I look back at my educational
Oh, all right.
system, yeah.
Which dorm did you live in?
Yavapai.
Oh, really? So, okay.
It was an all-women's dorm
Oh,
at that point, yeah.
okay.
No boys allowed.
Right. So, what was the campus environment like when you went here versus how it
Compared
is
to
now?
You know, it's just so small.
Really?
And so all the, you know, although some of this happens still now, all the instructors really knew you.
Okay.
And so it really was a smaller community. Everybody, for athletics, everybody
Right.
came to games. The whole town came to games.
Okay.
You were kind of known around town. I can remember we went to nationals that year, and they had a big reception for us before
Really?
we went. And I mean, just, you know, signing autographs, kind of like the soccer team has now. But
Right.
but it was very small, you
Right.
know, very nice.
All part of playing here? Did you like the coaches and all that? Or
You know, I was not what you would consider be a good player. I mean, for me, it was, at the time, I was 6 feet tall.
Right.
For a woman, that was pretty tall at the time. So I was on the team really just because of my size, not necessarily because I was so great.
Right.
But that was not my passion. Basketball was
Right.
basketball. I was really here more for the academics than anything else and the other aspects of it. Although I gained some great friendships
Oh, you did?
from that. And there are some players that, we still have connections and have families and,
Yeah.
exchange Christmas cards and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of neat.
I can relate to that with just being here 3 months. I
Yeah.
know some guys that I'm probably going to
But you're going to stick with, yeah.
I think so. So, what else do we have? Were you involved in anything else extracurricularly other than basketball? Or
Not really, just because when you're in college and athletics, it consumes so much of your time.
Right.
I did work part-time at the middle school,
Oh, you
which
did?
is interesting, which is the middle school that my daughter goes to now. But,
It is, okay.
so I was the lunch aide. So
Okay.
I checked the bathrooms and made sure people weren't smoking in the bathrooms.
Oh.
So that was my job, yeah. But other than that, no, it was just, being a student and playing basketball, and that was about it.
Okay. What else do we have here? I think, was your intended major the same when you came as when you left?
When I came and left, it was. I
Oh,
was
really?
a business major.
Okay.
But I'm I'm a counselor now, and so how does one go from business to counseling?
Right.
That was what my dad chose for me.
Oh, okay.
Because, it's like, what are you going to go to school and do? And my dad said, hey, that's why University of Denver, they have a great business program
Right.
there. So that was the career that would make me some money
Okay.
in his mind.
Right.
And so I said, sure,
Yeah.
But about halfway through my NAU career, I finally got into those upper level courses.
Okay.
And I said, what am I doing here? This
Right.
is not who I am. And so at that time, it's to regroup. How can you still get a degree with the courses you have and not continue with that major?
Right.
And when I actually came to Yavapai College, I worked in financial aid, which the
Okay.
business degree was okay for that.
Right.
But then I found that really what I wanted to do was more of the one-on-one counseling.
Right. Okay.
And so my master's degree is in that area.
Oh, nice. Okay. So did you like Flagstaff or Prescott, or how did they differ when you were up there?
I didn't like Flagstaff.
Really?
No, it was quite interesting. And part of it was probably because my then boyfriend, fiance was here
Right.
and I was there. But it wasn't as friendly, I didn't think.
Really?
And Flagstaff, of course, was much smaller back then, too.
Right.
But, I didn't have as much of a connection to that
Mm-hmm.
school as I did to Yavapai College.
Really?
And probably a lot of it is just, I was just there taking classes, let's get this done and over with,
Right.
as opposed to having the full experience that I had at Yavapai with
Okay.
athletics and living in the residence hall and all that good stuff.
Okay. All right. So so you guys went to nationals from basketball.
We did.
How was that?
That
I
was
can imagine that was.
awesome,
Did you
yeah.
guys win it?
We didn't.
Oh.
We lost the first 2 games.
Oh, no.
But it was a great experience.
Yeah.
And, I think the message that I can have, a lot of us were recruited from outside of Arizona. There were a few Arizona girls on the team. But we didn't know a lot about the history. Central Arizona still had that dynasty even way back then.
Really?
They were the ones to beat.
Okay.
But we didn't know any better. I mean,
Right.
most of us were from somewhere else. We're like Central Arizona. Who are they?
Yeah.
And so I think that was part of it. Is kind of not being afraid of a certain team or
Right.
whatever. But it was great to go to nationals. To be able to experience that in a bigger realm. I think we had more fun visiting. It was near Nashville. We had more fun visiting Elvis's house, Graceland, and all that stuff. That's probably one of the reasons why we didn't go very far. We were a
Really?
little distracted.
Okay. Yeah. So, you said that most of you guys were from out of state. Is it as drastic as it is now with out of state recruiting? I mean, our baseball team, we're going Washington, Hawaii, Alaska,
Yeah.
Colorado, Idaho.
Actually, I'm trying to think where everybody was from. There were a lot of us from New Mexico, which was
Okay.
kind of interesting.
New Mexico.
There were a few from Arizona and then like 1 or 2 from California. So there
Really?
really wasn't as much of a all over the country kind of a thing, but
Right.
just kind of the neighboring states.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually surprised that there's nobody from New Mexico that I've met here, because it's just right there.
It's right there, yeah. And
Yeah.
they still really don't have the junior college system that Arizona has.
Right.
So,
I mean,
you know, it's really kind of nice here that you can do athletics and
Yeah.
come to a community college. It's a nice avenue.
yeah, I like it here. It's
Mhm.
nice. So, geez, that was not. How much did it cost to attend here back then versus now?
Gosh, you know, I don't even remember. I'm sure it was a pittance compared to now.
Really?
I do remember, though, at the time, they didn't give, you couldn't get the out-of-state portion
Really?
of the tuition paid. So athletic scholarship could only be as much as an in-state student would
Okay.
receive for a scholarship. So we paid the out-of-state portion of the tuition.
Okay.
So.
And did you play basketball at NAU? I'm sorry, did you?
I
have to-
didn't,
You didn't?
no.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
Did you want to?
You know, I kind of had, and it's really interesting. Athletics was not, like I had said, a big part of my life. It was
Right.
just really an avenue. And so our coach from the first year went to NAU to coach, and he
Okay.
wanted a bunch of us to go with him. And I didn't feel like my skill level was ready for a
Right.
Division I school to play basketball, and I kind of liked it here. So I stayed behind. Well, and then, of course, you know, a whole year passes.
Uh-huh.
He's got a program up there. He's recruiting a whole bunch of other people, and I really wasn't good enough to move on athletically, and really the opportunity wasn't there anymore
Okay.
for me to move on.
Mhm.
But even now, I mean, you know, people say, "Oh, do you play basketball all the time?" You know, it's just kind of this distant thing in my life.
Right. It was just
And
kind of
it's-
a way to get here.
Yeah, and it's not, you know, and I kind of joke with my husband. I said, "You probably married me thinking, oh, great, I'm going to marry somebody that's interested in sports, and
Yeah.
it'll be so great." It's not what he got.
Right.
Although I do drag him to all the games over here.
Oh, all right. Excellent. So, what was the most rewarding experience you had here, you think?
You know, I think what you know, other than the personal relationships
Right.
that I developed, it was just, I think I got such a great education here.
Okay.
Fortunately, I came from a high school background that was really good academically,
Yeah.
so that certainly helped. But I think Yavapai really prepared me well for that next level.
Really?
And so, you know, I don't know, was that rewarding? I think it was just good. I didn't feel like I was lacking anything coming to the community college and then moving on to the university,
That's good.
which is why I'm such a great proponent of not just this institution, but community colleges in general. I think
Right.
they're a good avenue.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I'm enjoying coming here. I'm kind of upset I have to go, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, what was interesting for me is after I graduated from NAU and I came back part-time at Yavapai and then worked full-time, but it was kind of weird to have those folks that were my professors and so forth,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden they're colleagues.
Oh,
And
yeah.
just probably 3 years ago, the last of the professors that I
Nice.
knew as a student had retired.
Okay, so there's that's
there were
strange.
still a few leftovers there, but yeah, they're pretty much all gone at this point. So.
Really? None of them are left over?
None of them are left over
Okay.
anymore. Most of them are retired. Yeah.
When you first came here, were they all there? Most of them?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It was, and you know, and it was great. I think, and that was maybe the rewarding part. I mean, you know, I know we're talking a lot about athletics, but that's our common point. But to have that connection to faculty, I mean, you know, when it was a small school, small town, what
Right.
else is there to do but go to the basketball game? To have that other connection in the classroom with the instructor, that's why we always recommend in advising that students need to make that connection with their instructors all the time, because it makes a world of difference.
Yeah.
When you're struggling, they're there to help you.
Right.
So I think the rewarding part is just being at a small place. That's the best thing I
Yeah.
can recommend. As I look at my daughter going to college, it's like, oh, please don't want to go to an ASU or,
Right.
you know.
The 60,000
Yeah,
people.
I just don't know that you would. I mean, you certainly would get an education, but it's a
Right.
whole different experience.
Right. I mean, you're just basically teaching yourself at those schools. It's
Well,
so
it's just
big.
so big. I mean, even NAU isn't real that big now, but even back then it wasn't that big necessarily. And, you know, when I got into my junior, senior classes, of course, those were maybe 30, 35, 40 students. But
Right.
even back then, I mean, the freshman, sophomore level classes were in rooms of 70, 80, 100 students. You don't
Right.
get to know the instructor very well that
Not
way.
usually. Not unless you
Yeah.
proactively make it.
You got to, yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay, you said you worked part-time while you were here at the middle school?
Right,
Okay.
right.
Has the middle school gotten bigger since you've been here, or did they just keep that the same?
No, it's pretty much, but they built another one.
Oh,
so
okay. So
so that one's, yeah, so they got a second middle school, yeah.
Okay, okay. I guess, I think I'm pretty much out of
Okay.
questions.
Out of questions, great.
Yeah, and those, I think that went very well. So,
Okay, great.
thank
Any
you
other questions at all? No.
No, I don't think so.
Great.
But thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay.